All right, it's like a minute after the previous video was recorded, and I'm going to keep going from where we left off, where Diomedes is going back out after being assured by Athena that he can take on Ares if he finds him. Let's keep going. Sing, goddess, continue my song of that great Aristeia of Tydeus' son Diomedes, as he remounted his car in his shining armor, with a great glow about him of godly strength and passion and will, breathed into him by the gray-eyed goddess of wisdom and power, Athene. Diomedes had taken up his car with his attendant Sthenelus behind him, who had brought in those great steeds of Tros. And yea, it was this, the greater chariot, that he took now, using that car of Aeneas against the Trojans. And that great charioteer Sthenelus was able to control these. But before he could leave the camp, the goddess Athena, trusting in the strength of Diomedes and wanting to bring even more power to him, stopped him and said, Diomedes, this is an important task, and we are going to take on that god of war together. Thus, I will accompany you in that chariot, and we will take on that madman and stop his frenzy, which even now is cutting through the Achaeans like a hot bronze blade through fat thigh bones. And thus Athena took Sthenelus and picked him up like he was nothing but a bundle of twigs, setting him down on the ground to the side of the chariot. And she herself jumped onto the back to take up those reins as Diomedes held the spear. The chariot rim and wheels creaked under the weight of that great goddess of Olympus, who had not the mass of a normal man, but all the wisdom and strength and power of those immortals, such that no man who eats the grain of Demeter's barley could ever understand. And so they sped forth, leaving Sthenelus behind to care for Nestor and the other chariot team. Diomedes slew and slew, with Athene under guise to all other Achaeans and Trojans as Capanius, but to him, seeing that shining goddess flashing forth with her Gorgon's aegis on her chest and a shield at her back, holding those reins for him and guiding that chariot expertly through the field. Diomedes cast from the chariot with his spear, stabbing forth as they passed. And he was able to bring a breathing space to many an Achaean who were flagging and courage failing as Hector and mad Ares was stalking through the battlefield. Ares bringing strife and panic and rout all with him. And those were infecting the Achaean troops, sprinkling their dust over the heads of each fighter there. Diomedes killed Alastor and Echemon and Pantheon and many more besides. Thus would I need many more tongues in my head to tell all the common throng that Diomedes had taken down on that day, that great, glorious moment of Diomedes, the son of Tydeus. And soon enough, he did not spot Hector, but he saw Ares, who had taken one of the Achaeans from Argos and was sucking the blood from his corpse, rending his flesh, no longer content to cut men down with bronze, but rather than stripping the corpse, was actually feasting on it. Thus was the bloodlust of that madman who stalks through the hearts of all men at war. He saw Diomedes coming forth on that chariot, but he did not see Athena, who had put on the cap of Hades and was now invisible even to the eyes of the immortal gods. Ares immediately dropped the corpse of Ennemus, who he had been feasting upon, and he took up his spear and his shield. He saw that man and prepared and cast, and that spear missed its mark by the great breath of Athena, blowing it forth all past Diomedes, missing by a great distance, and stuck into the earth, quivering for another span of time, lusting for blood that spear was. Ares did not understand the god of war, who could not miss his mark when he chose to kill or maim or slaughter. But he had not time to think any further, as Athena, through Diomedes' hand, cast that spear, and it went straight into the flank of Ares, through his leather-studded armor, and through that immortal flesh, bringing forth the white ichor, all bespattering his glorious arms and armor, and staining the earth white. Ares screamed with the force of 9,000, no 10,000 men. All the armies, Achaean and Trojan alike, stopped for a moment, hearing that unearthly clamor. None could understand it. None could do anything but cover their ears as he rocketed forth without chariot, without horse, all the way up to Olympus in a great mist, not even waiting to take out the spear. Thus had Diomedes taken on 2 gods that day, and come out victorious. And up on Olympus, Ares arrived, still screaming, still clamoring, and all the gods rushed to his side. He said to those gods, "How can this be? That impious mortal Diomedes has taken on 2 gods. This is a thing unheard of. How can he even deign to rend the flesh of any immortal? How can he achieve this thing?" And Aphrodite spoke up to that great sky father. "Oh, Father, he has taken on myself as I was trying to take my son out of the battle. He cut my hand, and that ichor has sped forth from my limb." Athene interjected, who had already come back up to Olympus, still not letting on that it was she who had been the mastermind of both of these incidents. She joked to that Lord of Thunder, "I think, Lord Father, that Aphrodite had, while trying to cause some other Trojan to run off with an Achaean, or Achaean to run off with Trojan, scheming to cause love to meddle in the hearts of men once again, had cut herself on some sharp bronze brooch that she was giving towards beautifying some woman of Troy." The lightning lord laughed at this, and he said, "Oh, good daughter Aphrodite, it is not for you to meddle in the works of war. Let that be for your sister Athena and your brother Ares. You worry about those loves in the hearts of men and women, and leave the works of war to others who are better suited for it." Then Zeus turned his head to his son. "But as for you, Ares, accursed war, if you had not been born of myself and were only of Hera's doing, you would soon be lower than all the Titans in Tartarus, never escaping, as all hate those works that you achieve. You are the most hated to me of all the Olympian gods and goddesses. But as you are of the line of myself and Hera, I will send Paeon to heal you. But do not complain to me again of any such travesty. If you yourself are bested in the acts of war, then who is to be trusted in keeping up this aspect of human life? You, the embodiment of war itself. Thus, get to the houses of healing, and do not show your face here again before you are done." And so did Ares go to the house of healing, built by that great smith Hephaestus. And he saw Paeon, the healer of the gods, who went and tended to his flank, and stitched up the wound, and gave him nectar and ambrosia for the pain. Paeon moving to Aphrodite as well, waving her hand over that wound and wiping away the blood. Both of these were healed, and both took up their seats on Olympus near the Sky Father, who was silent but still brooding at heart. And Aphrodite's mother spoke to her, "O daughter, you have been injured by great Diomedes, who calls himself great now, but will not have his day of return to bounce his child on his knee and see the love in his wife's eye. He will have no happy fate, none who takes on a god or goddess and thinks to live to tell that tale. Don't you worry." And so, hearing this, Aphrodite and overhearing Ares both gloried as they took up their seats, and were resting assured that at least that haughty, impious mortal would not see a day of glory back in his land of thirsty Argos. All right. Again, jumping a lot, forgetting many things. I think Aphrodite was supposed to go to Olympus before Ares, and then she would have the whole speech from Zeus and from her mother, whose name I forgot actually. Homer gives Aphrodite a different lineage than most Greek storytellers do. Aphrodite is usually the daughter of Kronos or of Uranus, one of them, and so is actually like older than all the other gods. I guess she's the daughter of Uranus, so she's like Zeus's aunt. I want to say that's right, but not the daughter of Zeus. But Homer makes her his daughter, and so I stuck with that. And she has a different mother here, whose name I forgot. But that stuff's supposed to happen in different times, and there's a few things in there. But I liked what we ended up with. I thought it was kind of an interesting series of events, the combining of Ares and Aphrodite's like moments of coming up to heaven was a little clumsy, but it kind of worked like in its way. And I think that the idea of her mother telling her to rest assured that Diomedes won't, have like a nice ending, and having that also be the reason why Ares at the end is like glorying in his, splendor or whatever after being healed, I thought was pretty good, because in the story, he's like told off by Zeus and then he immediately comes back and is happy. And I thought it was nice to have like a little motivation for that. Diomedes, by the way, does end up having, kind of a sorry end, because I think he, similar to Agamemnon, like his wife, leaves him or whatever, and I forget how he ends up going out, but the prophecy, I guess, comes true that is it Dione? Aphrodite's mother says, I can't remember the name, but I thought that all worked out pretty well, and we put a little bumper on the end of Diomedes' moment where we said like, and thus he had taken on 2 gods that day. I thought that was kind of nice. I put in the thing, some translators don't use it, but there's like a moment in the Iliad where like Homer just like revises his own thing that he's saying in the middle of saying it, which I always think is really charming, and is also kind of feels like a piece of oral storytelling, where he says that Ares screams like 9,000, no, 10,000 men, which I think is a fun little moment. And a lot of translators just say he screamed like 10,000 men, which kind of takes away the charm of that part. But yeah, I think we did all right. We got some nice little details in there. And from here, then we would move on to the next book. That was the end of book 5. But, as we know it, again, when Homer was telling the Iliad, and even later rhapsodes who would say recite the Iliad would not have thought of it in terms of books. But once you get to like classical Athens, performances and stuff, that's, I'm pretty sure, when they added the division of books. But we would now be moving into book 6 as we know the books of the Iliad. So there's some good stuff in there, really good stuff in there. So I'm excited for that. But let's let's keep doing it. Again, the thing I'm doing this for is the game project that I'm working on, which is a turn-based RPG based on the Trojan War, kind of like trying to internalize the spirit of Homeric storytelling and the method by which he told a story, not by studying it, which I also obviously do a lot, but by doing it, which it's been really fun. It's like, I feel like I'm understanding to some extent what the challenges were for him, but to a much smaller extent because I'm not very good at it yet. But it's been fun, so I'm just going to keep going with it. All right.